Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Any Asian/X/ files around? I'll share some of my experiences involving Asian ghosts and their customs if it's okay with you guys. This happened to one of my father's friends. His wife passed away. Newly deceased, he went to visit her gravestone with his children. I'm not sure how many children. When he got there, he cried at her gravestone, etc., talked to her grave, etc. Got back to the car. His kids told him, "Daddy, while you were crying, we saw Mommy walking around the field." He got scared. The next time he went, he told the kids to stay in the car this time. He went to the gravestone alone. When he came back to the car, his kids told him, "Daddy, when you went, Mommy came and kept knocking on the door, but we did not open." After that, the guy moved to a different state. Greentext time. I got disturbed by one of these a few weeks back. Have weird sleeping patterns, usually asleep during the day and awake at night. 3 a.m., up all night doing a music review, blasting music, LCD sound system, kinda loud. Be thirsty, head to the kitchen to grab a drink. The kitchen is unusually windy. Shrug it off, open the fridge and grab that drink. Hear a woman's screeching laughter from outside the window, faintly at first, but growing in volume. Being the skeptic I am, I decided to check it out. View out the window, look down and see white cloth flying by. Nope.jpg. Start to freak out a little. All the while, the screaming laughter gets louder. Head back to the room, lock doors and close the windows and pump the volume up. I still hear her laughter. My parents woke me in my room since I fell asleep in front of my laptop and asked why were all the lights on for the whole night. I explained and Mom freaked out. She said that she had left a rag she used to stop blood from a cut out the very window I saw the thing from.
Asian here also. I have a recent story. Be afternoon, sister cleaning up the kitchen. Sees a shadow move from the laundry into the kitchen into the dining room. Nopes and doesn't tell anyone about it. Be night at 11. Other sister is using a computer in the dining room. Only one downstairs. Sees the laundry room light turn on. Initially thinks that it was me doing my laundry. Realizes she's the only one downstairs. Nopes and goes upstairs. Goes into my room and is all quiet. I think she's acting weird. She left her Facebook on and doesn't go back downstairs until my brother comes home from work. Later that night around 2, I got tired and put my computer into sleep. Consciously decide to leave the computer open and not closed just for this one night. Turn off the mouse to save battery. Go lay down on bed playing DS till I sleep. In the corner of my eye, the computer turns on. WTF.jpg. It better not be some ghost touching my shit.png. Get up to turn it off. Mutter asshole through my teeth. Sleep in peace. Even later, around 3 or 4 in the morning, my oldest brother wakes up. Needs to use the bathroom and is hungry. Finishes and closes the door. In the kitchen making food. Bathroom door open. Thinks it's my dad, but looks in. No one. Ignores it. Goes into the living room to eat and uses the laptop. 10 minutes later, hear a loud slam coming from the kitchen. Goes to look. The bathroom door is closed. Wakes everyone up in the morning. Finds out 4 of us had a strange event occur in one day. We found out it was the spirit of the old lady that first owned the house and came back to inspect why we were repairing the house.
Anyone have any thoughts about animals crossing the road? In my customs, it is said to be a bad omen. It's supposed to be a sign or a spirit that warns you to turn back, don't go. I believe in this because it happens to my brothers, my cousins, and my parents. Older bro and friends decided to have a road trip to another state to camp. They were young, only 19, and wanted to go out of state. They went in their group of about 7 or 8 people, 2 cars. One of their friends had a dream before they went. In his dream, he dreamed that when they got to their destination, there were some girls that wouldn't let them come home. But he did not tell anyone that dream, so they went anyways. Halfway there was a cat that crossed the road. There were 2 deers that they almost hit, and squirrels on the road and shit. So when they got there, the camping place was really far from tow trucks, etc. When they got there, it began to get really humid, and the ground was really muddy. That was not according to forecast at all. So they got stuck on the ground and had to call for a tow truck. The guy got there, and he said he's only accepting straight-up expensive cash 'cause it was far to drive up there. So they gave him all their cash. He said if they get stuck again, he's not gonna come back for them. So they paid him and just went home. On the way home, my bro's buddy told them about the dream he had, and they said, "If you have a dream like that, you should have told them." My cousins went camping a couple years back, and they were blocked 3 times while driving. I remember one time, it was a cat-like cougar or something like a feline. The second and third time I forgot what animal. But they ignored the warnings, and they got into a car accident and almost fell off a cliff. They all lived through it though.
A year before my parents passed away when I was 9, I remember my mother often talking about Nukekubi and Rönnberg. I always thought she was just trying to scare me, until one day my dad explained to me that my mum had told him a while ago that she had an experience as a child with a Nukekubi, yokai who look like human by the day, but at night their heads come off the neck and fly around independently, leaving the body behind. Every month on the anniversary of my grandfather's death, on the 16th, we had to make a huge banquet to honor the dead. Mum would use this occasion to make sure Nukekubi never had reason to visit the household with some trivial rituals. Me and my siblings would often make fun of her and laugh every time she tried to talk about Nukekubi, until on one of our monthly Honor the Dead banquets, she didn't do anything to repel Nukekubi, and I asked her why, and she just ignored us. Even though we didn't believe in it, we were so used to seeing Mum do little things to keep them away, so when she didn't do shit, we all got paranoid. I couldn't sleep properly that night. I drifted in and out of sleep. At one point, I looked at my windows. The blinds were closed, but it was a full moon, so I could still see outside a bit. I saw the shadow of 2 floating round things, which I assumed was Nukekubi. I was scared, but I heard mumblings between the 2. I tried to make out what they were saying to each other and heard stuff like, "He smells really nice. I can't fit into the cat flap. Don't wake him. Soft skin." I was about to get out of bed to run to my mom, and as I moved to get out of bed, they disappeared, and I didn't hear them talking anymore. So I just got back into bed to avoid "I told you so" by my mum. To this day, I wasn't sure if it was a dream because I had trouble sleeping that night. But I'll never forget it.
2 of my buddies decided to go hunting for moose. When they got to the hunting place, they split for more game chances. It was early in the morning, so the main guy started snoozing in his stand. He then had this dream. In his dream, there was a shallow river. There was a lady in traditional clothes bending down the river like she was grabbing something. He sees her from behind. The log was covering her face, though. He approached her. She turned around. He didn't want to describe her face to us at the moment, so I imagined it to be something rotten. Anyways, when he got close to her, he can see that she was eating a big piece of meat of some sort. Then she turned around, and in an elderly voice she said, "Oh, dear son, do you have any food?" "No, Granny, I do not have any food," while he was searching his pockets. She replies while smiling, "If you don't have any food, then I will have to eat you." And then bang. He heard a gunshot that woke him up from his dream. It was his buddy that came with him this morning, and he cussed the shit out of him. He said something's wrong, they gotta go home. He was serious, so the other guy knew that something was up, and so they went home. But before they went home, he said he wanted to go by the river to see if there was any game. They went there, and they saw a big moose dead in the river. So he was like, "Oh, fuck. No, man, fuck. No." So they just drove home. The other guy didn't ask anything because it's a bad omen in my culture to even ask when you are far from home.
Here are a few stories my parents told me. I'm half Asian from my mother's side. She's pretty superstitious and is pretty tight-lipped about it. She'll mention a few things here and there when she's comfortable, but if I ask her, she changes the subject. When I was very young, my parents and I moved from California to Virginia. My parents didn't have much money, so we stayed with my grandmother, father's side, for a while. My mom and I stayed in the guest room. My mom told me that while we lived there, she was extremely sick most of the time, and she doesn't get sick very often and easily. She kept dreaming about a man standing in the corner of the room. She told my grandmother and aunt about it and described the man to them. They told her that the man she described sounded a whole lot like my grandfather. It should be pointed out that my dad's side of the family is pretty Southern. My mom is convinced that it was my grandfather making her sick since he wouldn't have approved of my dad marrying her. We moved out of my grandmother's house about half a year later into a rented townhouse. During that period, my parents were looking to purchase a house. They looked at one house, and my mom told me that the moment she walked into the basement, she couldn't breathe. She said she was incredibly uncomfortable, so she insisted on having a new house built because of that experience. Not really creepy, but in Korean culture, it's bad luck to dream about cats. My mom dreamt about a cat one night, and I had to drive her everywhere because she was scared to. Just recently, a family member on my dad's side passed away. My mom went to the memorial service where they had an open casket. Out of respect, she looked at the body. She mentioned something about it being different in Korea. Afterwards, she said she couldn't get his face out of her head for days and had a hard time sleeping because of it.
Here's a popular Pontianak story in Massia. It's a classic, creeps me out even after numerous retellings. In Massia, we've got this notoriously haunted stretch of spooky highway called the Karak Highway. One time, a husband and his pregnant wife were on their way back from the guy's hometown. Car broke down. Guy decides to walk to the nearest gas station for help. This was way back when cell phones were a luxury, I presume, while wife stays in the car. After a while, the wife feels major spooked. Felt really cold all of a sudden. Smelled sickly sweet incense which gradually turned to smell like something rotten. Common Asian horror story cliches. Sudden banging on the roof of the car. Banging got more aggressive, as if something was trying to coax her out. wife is panicking. Suddenly a cop car pulls over nearby. The cop gets out of his car and yells to the wife to exit the car and come to him, real slow and careful. Also tells her to not look back, never look back. She walked towards him, but the banging persisted and she got really curious. She turned around to see what was what. Sees a bloodied Pontianak leering at her, banging her husband's severed head on the roof of the car.
I find it odd when I meet someone who doesn't believe in ghosts or spirits, etc. I find it odd then when my mom tells me stories about her being a child and chasing intestine-eating creatures with her father in the woods. I'm Lao, by the way. When someone dies, their spirits come back, usually as a butterfly, to let the family know they're fine. Do you guys have something similar?
Seen what might have been my grandpa my first time visiting Lao. Drinking the night before. Wake up. Can't fall back to sleep. Sleeping upstairs. Empty attic except for several bags of rice in a corner with a picture of my grandma and grandpa, and some incense and offerings behind the bags. Drunk uncle is asleep next to me several feet away. I'm not alone, but still shit bricks anyways. The sun is starting to rise. Exceptionally bright. Illuminating even. I begin to see the outline of a figure towards the wall next to the steps leading downstairs where my feet were pointed. WTF. Close my eyes to make sure they weren't playing tricks. Still there when I open my eyes. Definitely male, tallish, has on a hat, glowing all white. Actually, kind of warm. I fell back asleep. Now, during this whole time, I did try to debunk it as it was happening. The windows were open, but the amount of natural light coming into the room could not have created what I saw, and what I saw was standing a couple of feet behind the window opening, not directly in front of it. And it wasn't prop up against a wall, it was just kind of there, not floating. It was grounded. I told my mom later and she smiled and said it was Grandpa. I never met him, but I knew he was taller than average for being Lao, a little under 6 feet. Had my mom send him Levi's, and he had a thing for cowboy hats. Before I told my mom about it, I already knew who it was.
My dad was a soldier near the end of the Vietnam War. He stopped by this village and quickly made a girlfriend there. So he said to her, "Let's meet at the big rock outside the village tomorrow." She agreed. The next morning when he was approaching the river, he could see her from afar, but she looked pale. He encountered a lot of weird shit before, so he wanted to be careful. So he turned around and bent down to look under his legs, and he saw a blurry figure of something that had a horse's face, tiger's paws, and shit. So he took his rifle and shot it, and it disappeared. He tells me that sometimes mischievous creatures overhear your conversation, and they will act according to it.
There was this old Hmong couple in Laos who wanted a child very much. Whenever they go to their garden in the mountains, they would say aloud, "Oh, how we wish for a child to warm our home." One day after they said that, a lady Poj Chug heard them. She decided to grant them their wish. A few days later, while the couple was walking to their garden, they heard a baby cry. They rushed towards the cries and found a baby boy crying by a tall old tree. They felt so blessed. They thanked heaven and took the baby home. Ever since they brought the baby home, they have been switching days so that someone is at home with the baby. So if the dad goes to the garden, the mom would stay home to watch the baby. If the mom goes, the dad would stay. This went on for a couple of months. Subtly, they began to notice how tired they've become. One day, while the dad was walking to the garden, He remembered he had forgotten his shovel, so he rushed back home. Because he had become so tired he didn't make any noise, and plus he didn't want to wake up the mom and baby if they were still sleeping. As he got closer to the house, he began to get goosebumps. His hairs began to tingle and stood on ends. The closer the dad got to the house, he heard this suckling sound coming from inside the house. Curious, he peeked a hole into the house where the sound was the loudest. What he saw terrified him to his bones. The mom was laying on the bed sleeping and the baby was up. But it didn't look like the baby they found. It was greenish blue with deep eye sockets. By this time, the baby had grown a little, and it was sucking blood from the mom. He was so scared he didn't know what to do, so he took the shovel and went back to the garden. As night fell, the dad walked home. Instead of tending to the garden, he had been building a bamboo cell for the baby Greentext OG. The next morning, he pulled the woman to the side and whispered to her of what he saw. At first, she didn't want to believe him, but as the day progressed, she also began to notice the little things her husband had been telling her. Although she didn't exactly see the greenish-blue hue of the baby, she realized that the baby they found really was a Greentext baby. Its eyes kept following them wherever they went. It didn't look anywhere else. The couple didn't wait till nightfall. They rushed the baby and bamboo cell into the mountains and set the bamboo cell on fire with the baby inside it. As the baby started to scream, the couple heard horrific screams from all around them. It was so inhuman that they rushed home and never looked back. They also never wished for a child again.
I'm also half Asian. When my mum was still well, she told me once that when she was around 5 or 6, she had an intense fever. She was staying with some relatives because both my grandma and grandpa came here to work and left their 7 kids to various relatives. Anyway, she was in her bed with a fever when she kept hearing someone call her name from the window. She told me she got up and looked out, and it was her great-aunt. It's been a long time since I heard her tell this story, so I'm kind of hazy on some of the details, but she said her aunt was speaking to her, I think either telling her she loved her, my mom and her aunt were very close, or to get better. I asked my mom why she was even telling me this. I was a teenager at the time, and she told me that her aunt had died a few months prior to their meeting. All of her family, and even my dad, write it off as feverish delusions. Now, when my mum was well, she never really made a big stink about anything, but whenever anyone would just tell her she imagined it because she was sick, she'd get really upset and basically blow up at them, telling them that she was telling the truth and that she knew what she saw. But then again, she also told me that while she was pregnant with me, there was another fetus in her that just disappeared one day. So I honestly have no idea what to take seriously with her. Even though she was pretty mild-mannered, she had awful outbursts and explosions, and I'm pretty sure she was manic-depressive or something.
I live in Tokyo. We have a well-known old school building. Most Japanese schools have them. There was a story that said that a girl took her own life there after running away from home, which was obviously, or at least that's what I thought, a lie. Just a myth. One day I was with my friends. I'm a boy, by the way. We'll call one of them Hana and the other one Shiro, somewhat related with their real names. The point is that we were hanging out together and we were walking outside after watching a movie in Hana's cousin's house. It was almost midnight, so we were in a hurry. Later, we passed near our school, and Shiro said something about the girl who killed herself in the old building, and Hana said it was bullshit. I agreed, and Shiro was like, I know that, I was just trying to scare you. A few moments later, we saw the old school building, and Hana said, look, I can see the girl's corpse. Shiro and I looked at the window she was pointing, shocked, and then she started to laugh because of course it was a lie. Shiro said that one of us should go inside and explore. Hana said that she would, but not alone, so we agreed to break in. We had to jump over some kind of old fences, and we got there. We were in front of one of the windows, and I was scared. I said that we should go back, and Shiro agreed, but Hana somehow convinced us to go and told us to hold hands. The three of us were holding hands, and we were walking through a hallway that was scary as hell, using our phones as flashlights, and we entered in one room that still had the class number. We saw some old desks, and when we got close to a window, Hana stepped on a paper. The sound scared us, and Shiro took the paper. It said, "Goodbye, I really don't like this anymore. I would like to say thanks to Himari and Oka." I almost cried, and I felt Shiro squeezing my hand, and Hana was shaking. I looked at them and said, "Can we please go back?" I still remember the cracking of my voice at that point. We held hands harder and started running to the window we came in, and then we ran all the way to Shiro's house. When we got there, I remember we were shaking and that we couldn't sleep that night. We kept talking about that all night, holding hands on her bed under a blanket. We didn't know if someone put that letter there to scare people or if it was real. The only thing we knew is that we were so scared that we slept together for like 4 more days. If you think about it, this story is more sad than scary. But the worst part is that some days later, we asked someone who knows a lot about the story what he thought about it, and he said that his sister went once with her friend to that building once in lunch break just because someone told them to left a rose in the room. She died, like a commemoration. That would explain the rose. And we instantly thought that maybe they left that letter to scare people, so that made us feel much better. Except for Hana, who asked him, shaking, after Shiro and I took a deep breath and laugh about everything that happened. If they saw a letter, he said no, and then Hana was almost crying like that day and asked him what was his sister's name. He said Himari. She's always with a girl called Oka or something like that. She's popular, maybe you know her. And Shiro stopped laughing, and her expression changed in a second. She looked at me and I covered my mouth. We didn't say anything more, and we left school early that day. As I said, we slept together a few more days until we got over it. Now, after more than a year, I feel more sad than scared when I remember everything that happened. Because if you think about it, in the end, everything could be about a girl who took her own life because her parents abused her, and maybe after she died and stayed in that room waiting for someone to somehow save her, and the only ones she can be grateful to are those girls who left a rose.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.